Discover 9 Sinister Trucker Tales, spine-chilling true stories from Alaska's most haunted roads. The icy breath of the Alaskan night wrapped around Jenna as she drove along the empty highway, shadows stretching like fingers across the road. She was all too aware that the stories whispered in Meadow Creek had their roots in the dark, desolate paths she traveled each night. The tales of truckers who vanished without a trace sang through her mind like a chilling lullaby. Strange figures, distorted reflections, headlights flickering in the rearview. In her gut, she felt the weight of those stories, the weight of danger. Suddenly, the headlights of a rusted truck pierced through the darkness, too close for comfort. Jenna's heart raced, a cold shiver trickling down her spine as she stole a glance over her shoulder. The driver's eyes glinted in the ghostly light, an unsettling smile dancing on his lips. Panic gnawed at her, whispering that this was no coincidence, no mere trucker in need of fuel. She pushed the accelerator, urgency surging through her veins as the trucker lingered too closely, shadows binding them in a nightmarish embrace. When the haunting phone calls started later that night, Jenna was too exhausted from her shift to realize how much they would unravel her world. Tyler, her rebellious son, sat across the room, fingers trembling over the screen of his phone. It was the kind of tension that hung in the air, thick and suffocating. "Mom, I don't want to talk about it," he said, eyes darting to the floor, fear bubbling just beneath the surface. Unlisted numbers flashed repeatedly, bringing into question everything they thought they knew about their safe little town. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. With unease eating away at her sanity, Jenna turned to the lore of Meadow Creek. Just whispers at first, stories bloomed into something monstrous, a predator hidden behind friendly faces and warm greetings. As she pieced the tales together, cold dread began to seep into her bones. "It's just a ghost story," whispered one neighbor, brushing her concerns aside. Meanwhile, Tyler sank deeper into silence, echoing the muted warnings of her instincts. Desperation clawed at Jenna's mind. She had to know the source of the midnight calls, the shadows hovering around her son like ominous clouds. Tracking Tyler's phone led her to a rendezvous that twisted her gut in knots. She couldn't shake the feeling that danger was part of their everyday life, cleverly camouflaged by smiles. Turning on the lights to their small home felt futile, as if the shadows only deepened with illumination. By the time the phone rang again, it was too late. The screen blinked to life, showing a familiar face, Tyler's, innocent yet desperately pleading. "Mom, help me!" The voice crackled over the line, chilling and foreign. As it faded into a cold silence, Jenna's heart plummeted into an abyss. The warmth of their home transformed, the walls closing in, her safety slipping away like ice melting into nothingness. She was left trembling, caught between what she thought she knew and the horror lurking just beneath the surface. Jenna's breath hitched in her throat, a cold reality slicing through her panic. The last call had been more than just a plea, it was a warning. "Help me!" The words echoed like a grim chant in her mind. She was out of options, the weight of that chilling message pressing on her chest. With shaking hands, she grabbed her keys, heart racing as she headed for the door. The night felt heavier than before, shadows elongating like they were reaching for her. Each step toward her car ignited an instinctual fear. She could almost hear the stories of the missing truckers swallowed by the dark, leaving nothing but whispers behind. Sliding into the driver's seat, she punched Tyler's location into the GPS. It blinked ominously on the screen far away from the warmth of their home. It led her to a secluded dirt road, one that wove deep into the woods, hidden from the unblinking eye of civilization. Jenna's heart pounded as she drove, each bump in the road churning her stomach. The oppressive dark closed in around her, trees pressing against the sides of the road like sentinels keeping secrets. She could hardly breathe, fear nesting in her throat. Then came the flicker of headlights in her rearview mirror, a familiar rusted truck. Her gut twisted, recognizing the vehicle from that harrowing encounter earlier. Her foot pressed harder on the accelerator, panic driving her, but the truck surged forward, drawing closer, as if it thrived on her fear. Was it the same driver? Or something worse? Dread wrapped its icy fingers around her heart as she swerved off the main road, following the GPS as it guided her deeper into the woods. The engine sputtered nervously, and for a breathless moment, Jenna feared it might fail her just when she needed it most. Keep going, she muttered to herself, gripping the wheel tighter, recalling the look in the truck driver's eyes. That smile, it had been too wide, too wrong. There were monsters in these stories, and they didn't just vanish, they feasted. Soon she arrived at a clearing, trees parting like the curtain to a macabre stage. An abandoned cabin loomed at the edge, its windows shattered and its doors swinging on creaky hinges. The hairs on her neck stood up as a sense of foreboding dripped into her veins. This must be where Tyler was. Gingerly, Jenna stepped out of her car, the darkness closing in around her like a thick fog, blurring the line between the living and the lost. The wind howled through the clearing, sounding almost like voices, whispers that danced just out of reach. "Tyler!" she called, voice trembling, swallowed by the night. Silence swallowed her shout, and an unsettling chill seeped into her bones. She moved toward the cabin, instincts racing. Shadows flickered at her periphery, shapes darting among the trees. For a second, she thought she saw that unyielding smile again, but it vanished before she could confirm it. Fear sharpened her senses as she crossed the threshold of the cabin. The air inside was stale and cold, a forgotten space filled with dust and despair. Items lay scattered, remnants of lives once lived, broken toys, a torn photograph. But no Tyler. "Mama," faint whisper echoed from the back, too soft, too weak. Her stomach churned. She crept deeper into the cabin, fear curling like smoke around her. "Tyler!" she shouted again, voice cracking with desperation. Footsteps echoed behind her, heavy, approaching, deliberate. Chills danced down her spine. She wasn't alone. Jenna turned, heart racing, fear clawing at her throat. And then, as the shadows congealed, she saw him. The driver from the truck stood before her, his smile wider than before, edged with something she couldn't quite place. "Looking for your son?" he said, voice dripping with malice. And with that, Jenna realized the real terror was only just beginning. What did he know? What were the shadows waiting for? The night suddenly felt longer and darker, wrapping around her like a shroud. She had to find Tyler, and fast, before the monsters that haunted these roads claimed them both. But would she make it in time? Jenna's breath quickened, a feeling of dread spreading through her like ice water. The driver's presence felt oppressive, suffocating, like a fog creeping in to block out all hope. The cabin was steeped in silence, but not for long. "Where is he?" Jenna stammered, desperate to hold on to her will. The man's grin deepened, shadowed by a flickering beam of moonlight that seeped in through a broken window. It twisted her stomach. That grin was no mere smile, it was a declaration of something dark. He stepped closer, just out of reach but close enough to smell the decay of the place around them, mingling with the scent of old wood and dread. "You're too late," he said, voice low. "They've already chosen." "Chosen?" Panic swelled. "What are you talking about?" He laughed quietly, humorless, sending a chill racing down her spine. "You think he's here? You think they'll let you take him back?" Jenna felt her mind reeling. "Let me take him back." She backed against the wall, her pulse hammering in her ears. Shadows danced like glowing embers, whispering secrets just out of hearing. She wasn't just running out of time, she was running out of hope. "Your son is part of their game now," he continued, circling her slowly as if enjoying a moment of leisure. "He'll join them. They want to release him." With her heart slamming against her ribs, she looked around frantically. There had to be another exit, something, anything to help her escape. Sweat dripped down her back, the air thick like molasses. The driver's eyes glinted like birds of prey. "You came for him, now you're just like them. Stuck here with the rest." He gestured around the room. "Welcome to the family." And then she saw it. In the corner, Half buried under a mound of tattered papers, lay a child's backpack of familiar blue with yellow stripes. The sight jolted her, sending desperation racing through her veins. "Tyler!" she shouted, lunging for it. "Stop!" he barked, but she was already ripping it free, heart pounding as she rummaged through its contents. A few crumpled papers, a worn-out book, but nothing that resembled hope. Her heart sank. "It's too late," the driver taunted, moving closer. Shadows twisted, almost swirling at his feet. With each step, Jenna felt the distance to freedom stretch impossibly. "They need you, and soon you'll see why. You'll understand." "No!" Jenna screamed, voice echoing, each syllable filled with desperation. "I refuse to be part of this." He lunged, a glint of madness in his eyes. With every instinct screaming, Jenna threw the backpack at him, catching him off guard just long enough. She darted to the doorway, heart racing as she went, but the shadows slithered around her feet, anchoring her down. She fought against them, pulling back, fear crystallizing around her. "Tyler!" she called out again, but only silence answered, heavy and oppressive. The man's laugh echoed as she stumbled outside. The cold air slammed into her like a wall, sharp and intense. She looked back. He was gone, but the cabin still loomed, watching her with its broken windows. "What does he mean?" she thought wildly. "Why do they need me?" Tears stung her eyes as she stood alone in the moonlight. The stillness of the woods surrounded her. But somehow, something deep inside felt alive. She had to move. With each step, the weight of dread hung heavier. Just as she reached her car, a whisper slid through the trees, chilling her to the bone. "Mama, help me!" Sucking in a breath, Jenna turned back. The shadows twirled like ominous smoke. Could she really leave without knowing? The air thickened with uncertainty. What if finding Tyler meant embracing the dark? What had that man meant by they? With dread curling in her stomach, she felt the gnawing truth. She was going back into the woods. No matter how horrifying, she had to confront the unknown. She couldn't leave him behind, but was she only walking into a deeper nightmare? Jenna stepped back into the hollow embrace of the forest. The air was dense, the trees looming like ancient sentinels, their gnarled branches stretching toward her. Each rustle of leaves sent her heart racing, a reminder that the shadows weren't just phantoms, they were a living, breathing presence that clawed at her sanity. "Tyler!" she shouted into the night. Her voice cracked, swallowed instantly by the darkness. The whisper came again, barely audible, like a wind weaving sorrowful melodies through the branches. "Mama, help me!" She plunged deeper, the underbrush catching at her clothes, snagging her thoughts. Her mind was a maelstrom of fear, and that man's last words echoed in her ears. "They need you." What on earth could it mean? She pressed on, straining to see, hoping beyond hope that she would spot her son's face peering out from the shadows. As she stumbled over roots and rocks, her fingers began to tremble. The darkness wrapped around her, making every whisper of wind sound like mocking laughter. Suddenly, she felt a shift in the air, a new presence. It was heavier, colder. The night cloaked another figure, silhouetted just a few paces ahead. Fear surged through her, gripping her throat. Was it the driver? Or worse, a shadow with Tyler's face? "Mom?" The voice was distant, distorted like it was being carried on the wind. Jenna's heart twisted violently in her chest. "Tyler!" she called again, rushing toward the sound. As she moved closer, the figure shifted into view. It was a child, but not Tyler. His face shrouded in darkness, eyes glimmering with a haunting light. "Stay away!" it shrieked, a hollow echoing scream that rattled her bones. Fury flooded Jenna's veins, mingled with panic. "No! Where's my son?" But the child faded, replaced by shadows that crept closer, encircling her with an icy grip. "You should have stayed away." Those words sent a frisson of fear racing down her spine. Time felt suspended as she backed away. Forest sounds faded, even the wind held its breath. She was entrapped in an ethereal realm of dread, surrounded by eyes that glinted in the darkness, unseen yet feeling all too present. Jenna spun around, frantically scanning for any escape. The trees seemed to lean in, the shadows growing thicker, as though they were drawn to her despair. The laughter, a soft, cruel melody, echoed through the woods, a symphony of the damned. Rushing forward, she stumbled upon a clearing, a small patch of moonlight slicing through the darkness. In its embrace, she spotted something else, an altar made of twisted branches, scattered with dried leaves and stones. Atop it lay a tattered doll, one that looked hauntingly familiar. Tyler-s. She gasped, reaching out. Just as her fingers grazed the rough fabric, a deafening roar cracked through the stillness. Jenna whipped around, eyes wide. The shadows surged toward her, their hunger palpable, craving her fear and despair. "Mama!" That voice, her son's, cut through the air again, sharper this time, more desperate. "Please, I'm here. Don't leave me." A fresh wave of panic crashed over her. Jenna knew in her soul that she could not abandon him. But how? They needed to be together, free from this wretched horror. Just as she turned to find him, the shadows surged forward like a wave crashing against the shore. She was ensnared, sinking into their depths as tendrils of darkness wrapped around her, binding her to the altar like a sacrifice. "Join them," the whisper curled around her, seductive and terrible. Jenna fought against it, against the weight pulling her down. She had to find him, had to break free. "Tyler!" she screamed, the sound tearing at her throat. But the woods sighed, a mournful sound that echoed back to her. And then, in a moment between breaths, she froze as the shadows cleared, revealing a path that beckoned. "Mom!" Tyler's voice was clearer now, more urgent. The call for help ignited something deep within her. With renewed determination, Jenna lunged forward. She would find him. She would fight whatever darkness lurked here, no matter the cost. The ground trembled beneath her, uprooted by her fear and fierce love. But did the shadows truly allow escape? The night pulsed with a heartbeat of its own. Something was awakening. What lay ahead awaited her. Would she stand strong enough to seize it, or would the forest claim her as one of its own? The path widened, revealing ghostly silhouettes that flickered and darted like memories lost in time. Each step Jenna took was like a step deeper into an unsettling dream. The darkness throbbed with a life of its own, straining at the seams. Keep moving," she muttered under her breath, feeling the pressure of unseen eyes tracking her every move. "Mom! Over here!" Tyler's voice exploded through the shadows again, louder, but still laced with desperation. It was a beacon pulling her forward, each syllable a thread pulling her away from the clutches of fear trying to ensnare her like tangled vines. She dashed toward the sound, the branches clawing at her skin as she brushed past. Twisted roots intertwined with her feet, trying to trip her, but she wouldn't yield. Panic fueled her urgency, and adrenaline surged in her veins, but there was no guarantee she could outrun the forest or whatever inhabited it. Jenna broke through a final curtain of leaves and stumbled into another clearing, her breath hitching as reality sank in. The moonlight painted the scene in ghostly patches, revealing a circle of stones, each engraved with symbols that sent a chill spiraling down her spine. A makeshift barrier against something ancient, a summoning ground, perhaps? "Mom!" Tyler's voice rang out again, clearer now but rising above a cacophony of whispering shadows, an indecipherable chant that made her skin crawl. "Tyler!" Jenna screamed, panic clawing at her insides as she spun in all directions. "But where?" The voices echoed all around, each taunting her, merging with the whispers of the trees, twisting into sounds that felt like hands reaching out to seize her. In the heart of the clearing, she spotted a shape amidst the stones, a small figure, seated cross-legged and hunched over. A familiar silhouette that sent a jolt through her chest. She rushed closer, pressing to the edge of the circle. It was Tyler, his small frame trembling, eyes wide as despair clung to him like a shroud. "Tyler!" She reached for him, desperation fueling her pulse, but something pulled her back, an unseen force rippling through the air, holding her at bay. "Don't come closer!" Tyler shouted, terror flashing across his face. "It's a trap! Mom, something's wrong!" Her heart sank, a heavy stone sinking deeper into the abyss of her fear. "What do you mean? I can save you!" She strained against the barrier, feeling her skin prickle as the shadows pressed in, feeding off her anxiety. I saw them. The things in the dark, they want you too. They want to take you away. His words were choking with dread, eyes darting around, as if the shadows were whispering secrets only he could hear. The shadows thickened around Jenna, swirling like a tempest, their whispers growing louder and more menacing. Join us, shut up! She screamed into the darkness, rage igniting her fear. Leave him alone! But the shadows only laughed, a cacophony of haunting sounds that resonated through the clearing, and the air turned chillier, suffocating. She could see Tyler's face crumple with strain, the weight of the unseen threatening to crush him. She couldn't lose him, not now. I'm coming for you. With a fierce determination, Jenna lunged forward, her body trembling against the invisible barrier. She felt the pressure mounting again, the whispers clawing at her mind, but she pressed through, resolved to break it. Suddenly, she realized she didn't just fight for her son, she fought for her own survival. The shadows quivered, sensing her resistance, and for a heartbeat they faltered. M.O.M. Tyler's cry rang out, sharper, filled with urgency. Suddenly, the darkness quaked, revealing a flicker of light just beyond the stones. Mom! Tyler shouted again, reaching toward the light, his tiny hand outstretched. Please! But was the light a way out, or a lure? Jenna hesitated, her gut recoiling at the uncertainty. The shadows stirred around her, a low growl vibrating through the ground. Was it desperation or hope she felt tugging at her heart? Mom! Tyler's voice was sweet, almost musical, as it wrapped around her. But was it truly him calling? Torn between despair and clarity, Jenna felt the ground beneath her pulse. What untold horrors roamed this night? Would she follow the light, risking everything, or stay and face what awaited them both in the darkness? The shadows lunged, shrieking with fury, and as they extended towards her, Jenna had to decide. Would she make the leap into the light, or succumb to the darkness that cradled her fears? Time hung in the balance, and the answer awaited just beyond her reach. Jenna's heart pounded against her chest like a trapped bird. The flicker of light felt like a lifeline, yet the shadows swarmed, hungry and vengeful. Fear curled in her stomach, tightening like a coil. Mom! Tyler's urgent plea clawed at her resolve. The sight of him in that circle of stones shattered her, but the pull of the light glimmered with a fervent promise. Was it an escape or merely bait? Gritting her teeth against rising dread, she focused on the luminous beckoning. With a primal scream, Jenna thrust herself forward, tearing through the invisible barrier. An electric tingle coursed through her, as she felt it fracture under her determination. Tyler, hold on! She gasped, her limbs struggling against the shadows as they lashed out, grasping at her heels. The earth seemed to breathe beneath her, pulsing with dark energy. Then she was through. The instant she crossed the threshold, the cacophony of swirling whispers halted. The shadows recoiled, screeching in fury, but Jenna was in the light now, a cold, unearthly glow that surrounded her like an ethereal fog, chilling her to the bone. Mom! Tyler cried out again, and as she turned, relief flooded her senses. He was barely a few feet away, trembling but beckoning. She stumbled forward, reaching out. But then she felt it, a cold hand seizing her wrist, dragging her back. Within the blinding light, shadows twisted and contorted, forming a silhouette that loomed ominously over Tyler. Jenna's blood ran cold. It was a figure unlike any she'd faced, gaunt, elongated limbs that seemed to shift and pulse, skin glistening with an inky sheen. It wore an expression of malevolence, eyes two bottomless pits that drew her in with an insatiable hunger. Let him go! Jenna screamed, wrenching her arm free with a sudden, surging strength. The figure recoiled, howling in rage as the light pulsed with her defiance. Mom, please help! Tyler's voice wavered, desperation echoing through the air. The moment he spoke, the shadows flared, coiling around him like a serpent. Fear ripped through Jenna, scalding her heart. Stay away from him! She roared, feeling an energy filling her, wild, fierce, determined. She stepped towards Tyler, every ounce of her being pushing against the unraveling darkness. The light flickered, fainting against the shadows that seethed. Each step felt monumental, the ground quaking beneath her as she drew closer to her son. The figure lurched for her again, but she was ready this time, channeling every bit of protective rage she possessed. "Enough!" she yelled, extending her hands toward the figure, shoving it back with raw intensity. It staggered, but thick tendrils of shadow lashed out, slashing at her skin, cold and stinging, leaving trails of frostbite behind. "Mom!" Tyler's pleas were desperate, drowning in panicked shouts as he was pulled back, inching away from her grasp. "No!" Jenna bellowed, the word ripping from her throat as she surged forward again, the shadows on her skin burning like electric fire. She refused to be another victim. With every ounce of love, she lunged for Tyler. Suddenly, the bond between them sparked a bright flash that flooded the clearing, pushing back the shadows. The light exploded outward, shattering the dark with a blinding brilliance. But what came next? As Jenna's hands finally wrapped around Tyler, the world around them disintegrated into a blinding void, pulling them deeper. Then it succumbed to darkness. Alone again, Jenna felt the panic snare her heart as she and Tyler were engulfed in shadows. The howling returned, louder this time, ripping through the silence with malicious laughter. She couldn't even see the ground beneath them. "Where are we?" Tyler's voice was barely a whisper. "What did we stumble into?" Jenna thought, dread pooling at the base of her spine as the darkness closed in again, and then, from the depths of shadow, another voice filtered through, resonant and ancient, chillingly familiar. "Welcome to our domain." The chilling welcome sent ice racing through Jenna's veins, casting doubt on everything she thought she knew. Was escaping the woods merely a step into another nightmare? What awaited them here? The darkness thickened, pregnant with expectation, and Jenna knew the worst was yet to come. The silence after the voice was deafening. Jenna's ears rang, the fading echoes of laughter still scraping against her consciousness. She glanced at Tyler, searching for comfort in his wide, terrified eyes. Yet, the shadows around them twisted, forming shapes that flickered at the edges of her vision, taunting them. "Jenna," Tyler breathed, his voice trembling. "What is happening? Where are we?" "I don't know," she whispered, her own heart racing with the weight of fear. Shadows swirled closer, and she suddenly felt the chill of something that wasn't quite air brushing against her cheek. It carried whispers, half-formed words that gave her a sense of impending dread. "Stay close to me," she snapped, gripping his hand, feeling his warmth against the insidious cold creeping into her bones. The darkness writhed, and that chilling voice returned, languid and sinister. "You seek refuge, sweet Jenna? You think you can escape our grasp?" The words dripped with darkness, curling around them like fog. "You left the woods, yet you enter another prison, a home to countless souls who lost their way." Jenna squeezed Tyler's hand tighter. How could they be prisoners here? Where was here, anyway? Shadows flared, and she could see distorted faces forming, mouths unmoving yet screaming silently, eyes filled with despair. "Mom!" Tyler whimpered. "I can't breathe." Reacting instinctively, Jenna bent down and pulled him closer. "Just breathe with me, okay? And out we'll get through this." But the darkness sneered, a low, mournful sound echoing that raised the hairs on the back of her neck. "You are bound by the same fear you brought with you. Do you really think you hold any power here?" The light that had surrounded them began to flicker like a candle in the wind. The shadows pressed tighter, sensing their vulnerability. Jenna's heart raced. "We need to try something. We need to look," Tyler shouted, fingers trembling as he pointed. There, etched into the void, was a faint glow, the hint of some kind of doorway, pulsing softly like a heartbeat. "Maybe it's a way out," she exclaimed, pulling her son towards the ethereal light. But as they moved, the shadows writhed in protest, snapping at their heels, whispering threats that chilled Jenna's blood. "You cannot escape. You belong to us now." The light gleamed brighter, promising safety, but with each step, Jenna could feel the suffocating pull of the darkness straining against her. The icy tendrils coiled around them tighter than before, clawing at her legs and tearing at her resolve. "We have to keep going," Jenna urged, her voice a fierce whisper. Her heart hammered, both with the weight of fear and the overpowering need to protect her son. They stumbled toward the light, the darkness thrumming with frustration. "Mom!" Tyler shouted suddenly, ripping Jenna from her determined trance. She turned to see his expression twist in horror. Behind them, an aisle of shadows slithered forward, pooling to form a grotesque figure, an amalgam of the lost souls, eyes wide with pain, mouths agape in silent screams. "Tyler, run!" Jenna screamed, pushing him ahead, her heart clawing at her throat. "No! I'm not leaving you!" he cried, fighting against the heavy shadow that pulled him back. "Go!" she shouted, desperation fueling each word. As Tyler moved, the shadow figure lunged, its whispering voice rising into a guttural wail, rattling Jenna to the core. In that moment, she felt the last tether of light flickering inside her snap. It surged, unleashing the fires of her defiance. With an abrupt flourish of energy, she unleashed a scream that drowned out the darkness. "Get away from us!" Momentum from her fury sent waves rippling through the shadows, and they recoiled. "Such anger, such power," the ancient voice murmured, tainted with intrigue. "You think you are strong, but anger binds you still. It is a darkness of its own. Will you embrace it?" Jenna hesitated, heart racing as fear mingled with summoned rage. "I won't let you take us. Not now. Not ever." But then, a new sensation washed over her, a flicker of doubt, of loneliness that resonated within the cacophony of the shadows. The darkness whispered again, more seductively, "It's easy to give in to join the tormented." Jenna's resolve faltered for just a moment, and it felt like an eternity. The shadows laughed, echoing in the void, waiting for her answer. "Don't listen!" Tyler shouted, pulling her back. But could she resist? Would they ever escape this nightmare? The flicker of light pulsed ominously, taunting her with hope, while the shadows beckoned with familiar warmth. Jenna was torn, her mind racing with agonizing uncertainty. What would happen if she yielded? The darkness swelled, ready to devour her thoughts whole. And as the ground shook beneath them, Jenna knew the choice was approaching fast, one that could trap them forever. The ground trembled beneath Jenna's feet, her heart slamming against her ribcage like a wild beast desperate to escape. She felt the shadows breathing around them, pulling tighter, shrinking their space. "Tyler, listen to me. We have to trust the light, okay?" His eyes were wide, filled with disbelief. "But what if it's just another trap?" he whimpered, glancing back at the shadowy figure, which now writhed closer, twisting and curling like smoke around a flame. "It's our only hope." She pulled him forward again, but doubt gnawed at the back of her mind. Was it really hope? Or a flicker of unbearable fate? The figure advanced, elongating, morphing into something grotesque, an amalgamation of despair that reached for them with elongated fingers. Each whisper, each laugh, wrapped around her like chains, promising power and surrender, in giving up the fight. "Join us, sweet Jenna," it hissed, a seductive tone that dripped with promise. "Find comfort in the darkness. We can protect you forever." Jenna's breath hitched. Inside, a battle raged. But she couldn't give in. Not when Tyler needed her. "No! You won't have my son!" Her voice cut through the thick haze of despair, gaining strength as it echoed in the void. With renewed determination, she charged toward the flickering light. But the shadows retaliated. Icy tendrils lashed out, snagging her ankles, clawing beneath her skin, seeking to drag her back. A searing pain shot through her leg. She stumbled, crashing to the ground. "Mom!" Tyler screamed, a piercing cry laced with terror. He fought the shadows, but they were relentless, ensnaring him like a puppet on strings. "Let him go! Let us go!" Jenna shouted, her voice tearing through the cocoon of dread. The shadows recoiled slightly, almost startled by her ferocity. "This power you possess, it's a choice," the voice taunted, the thick air swirling with dark laughter. "And choices have consequences." She could feel the energy around her altering, pulsating with an allure that threatened to tempt her. Images flashed through her mind, the smiles of her son, the warmth of the sun filtering through the trees, laughter shared over simple meals. And then the darkness, the faces of the damned twisted in agony, begging for release. "Why do you cling to them? Embrace the void!" The shadows hissed, drawing closer, bringing with them an oppressive weight. The concept of surrender lingered tantalizingly, but Jenna's grip on reality remained firm. In that heartbeat of stillness, she felt an awakening, a surge from deep within. "No!" she gasped, forcing herself to stand, to defy the pull toward the abyss. With every ounce of her being, she reached for Tyler, her hand extended. "Mom!" His voice was nearly drowned out by the overwhelming whispers. "Please!" And then, in a moment of clarity, Jenna's heart ignited with her love for him, a blinding flame that burst forth, illuminating everything around them. The shadows screamed against the bright, burning light, recoiling just enough for her to break free. "Take my hand, Tyler!" she yelled, her voice breaking through the chaos. He lunged for her, and they clasped hands, grounding each other amid the maelstrom of darkness. Together, they advanced toward the light, pulling against the shadows that writhed in furious rebellion. "We can do it, Tyler! Just believe!" she urged, pushing through the suffocating grip, their bond acting like an anchor against their fears. As they pressed closer, Jenna could feel the very fabric of the darkness ripping apart around them. The whispers turned to screams of rage, furious and wild, engulfing them in a cacophony of despair. But suddenly, another presence made itself known. A hissing sound broke through the darkness, a voice as familiar as it was horrifying. "You think you can escape? You think love can save you?" Love is a weakness. In that instant, Jenna's heart sank. The ground beneath them shifted again, revealing cracks that pulsed with dark energy. The voice was closing in, creeping into her psyche, questioning everything she believed. Desperately, they surged forward, but her mind raced. Could love really safeguard them from this malevolent force? What if it crumbled under the weight of despair? The flicker of the light surged ahead, but it was entangled with a snaking tendril of darkness, pulsing rhythmically by something sinister. And as Jenna and Tyler fought to move forward, the darkness threatened to swallow the light whole, leaving only doubt behind. What would happen if they were caught between love and darkness? Would it be enough to break free, or would they both succumb to the terrifying truth awaiting just beyond the light? The shriek of the shadows pierced the air, slicing through the fading echoes of Jenna's heart. "We have to keep going!" Instinct burned in her veins. Tyler clung to her, eyes wide with terror, the darkness swirling like a storm around them. "Mom, I can't see!" he gasped, panic rising in his voice. Each heartbeat thudded like a desperate drum, drowning out the insidious whispers that crawled into her mind. Their feet were glued to the ground, heavy with uncertainty. Shadows clawed at their clothes, pulling them down, far away from the flickering light that felt like a distant memory. Jenna's chest felt tight, like a vice, warning her that each second spent lurking in this abyss brought them closer to despair. "Tyler!" Jenna shouted, rallying every ounce of strength. "Just keep holding on. Don't look back." She felt the familiar warm pulse of love coursing through her, but it was swaying, flickering like the light above. Suddenly, a low growl enveloped them. Jenna's heart froze. The voice of darkness twisted maliciously in her ears. "You know him better than anyone, don't you?" A simple child so naive, the shadows pulsed, revealing twisted faces that contorted into mockery. Eyes stared from every corner of the darkness, empty and hungry, with nothing to lose. Tyler tugged at her hand, his face ashen. "What if it's right, Mom? What if we can't escape?" His doubt flowed through her like ice water, freezing her resolve. She couldn't let him see her hesitation. "No. It's wrong. I will not let it win," she shouted defiantly. The light ahead flickered like a dying ember, struggling against the encroaching shadows, as if it, too, leaned towards despair. Then, in an instant, Tyler pulled her closer, blocking the shadows with his small frame. "You can do it, Mom. I believe in you." In that moment, Jenna felt a surge, a memory of summer days and laughter ignited within her. It fueled her spirit. "We're getting out of here," she cried, racing toward the flicker with renewed vigor. But the shadows reacted, sweeping toward them in a wave of darkness, blotting out even the faintest shimmers of hope. "Join us, dear Jenna, embrace the inevitable," the sinister voice cooed. "Why fight for a weak flame? With every step, the ground heaved, the fissures widened beneath them, separating them from the light, threatening to swallow them whole. The scent of damp earth and rot filled her nostrils, sharp and vile. What if the shadows were right? What if love truly was a weakness? Tyler! Jenna choked out. She pulled him tighter, feeling his heartbeat against her own. But guilt seeped in. Was she leading him into a pit of despair? They stumbled forward, breath quickening, desperation clawing at their throats. A shrill keening erupted around them, drowning out their cries, unfurling like a grotesque serenade. The cacophony of sinister laughter twisted in her ears, each note a reminder of the darkness that desired to consume everything she held dear. Suddenly, a chill tore through the air, sharp and biting. Tyler gasped, pointing ahead. "Mom! Look!" Before them stood an exit, a gaping maw in the darkness, lined with the flickering light. Yet, from within, shadows raged, clawing at their chance of escape, that final bit of illumination fading. "It's a trap!" Jenna shouted, fear creeping in. But they could feel the thinning of the dark's grasp. She clenched her son's hand and hesitated for just an agonizing breath. Then, with a desperate lunging cry, they surged forward, racing toward the light, fighting tooth and nail against the weight of despair that clawed at their heels. But as they crossed the threshold, the darkness erupted around them in a final explosion of malevolence. The last echoing whisper reached out, taunting, sinister. "You think this is the end? The shadows will always reside within." And then they were through. What awaited them on the other side? Was the light truly a sanctuary or merely a gateway into greater terror? The light enveloped Jenna and Tyler, pressing against them like a warm blanket. For a moment, it felt as if the darkness was behind them, the sinister whispers fading into mere echoes. Tyler's grip on her hand was tight, grounding her, keeping her tethered to reality. Each breath was a clash of relief and anticipation. Had they truly escaped? They stumbled into what looked like a serene clearing, sunlight breaking through the trees, illuminating a path that felt almost alive. Birds chirped and leaves rustled softly in the gentle breeze, a stark difference from the chilling groans of the shadows left behind. But was this truly safety, or merely an illusion? "Mom, where are we?" Tyler's voice held a fragile hope, but his eyes shone with the remnants of fear. Jenna felt a lump in her throat. "I don't know." As they stood in the clearing, glimmers of warmth swirled around them, and a strange thought pierced through her mind. The shadows said they would always reside within us. Maybe they're gone. Tyler's face was etched with worry, gauging her reaction. Right. But doubt gnawed at Jenna's heart. She forced herself to look around the peaceful clearing. The air was clear, vivid colors painted the ground, yet an unsettling feeling brushed against her skin. Their flight was far from over. Determined to protect her son and to confront whatever lay ahead, Jenna took a deep breath, pushing away fading memories of horror. "Let us figure this out," she said, her own resolve mingling with Tyler's need for reassurance. "We face the shadows together. Whatever's here, we can do this together." They set forth down the enchanted path. Every step vibrated with a weight that felt oddly familiar, almost tethered to the vestiges of the darkness they had endured. But as they ventured deeper, the vibrant colors began to fade, the once comforting warmth shifting into a claustrophobic chill that tightened around them. Suddenly, the soft whispering returned, seemingly carried on the wind, morphing into familiar voices they both recognized, echoing through the trees. "Join us, stay." Tyler's face went pale, and fear seeped back in. "Mom! It's okay. It's just tricks." Jenna grasped his hand tighter, but shadows began to coalesce at the edges of the clearing, whispering promises, urging tensions to rise. "We can resist." But were those shadows really gone? Or did they remain, hidden under layers of placating light, biding their time? "I can't stay here," Tyler stammered, panic tightening his voice. "They're coming for me." Jenna felt her heart clench. "We won't let them. Keep your eyes on me." Yet uncertainty loomed. If this went bad, would the shadows feast on them anew? Would she have to relive the horrors of their past? As the trees swayed around them, the shadows danced, forming a pathway that seemed to lead back into the abyss. The whispers grew louder, drowning out the quiet lull of their sanctuary. "Join us, sweet Jenna, come back, no!" she shouted defiantly, drawing herself tall, her voice echoing through the unsettling quiet. "We reject you!" But the shadows unfurled, creeping closer, thickening the air around them with dread. Jenna and Tyler stumbled back, resolute but afraid, fear entwining with determination. "Mom, don't let them take me!" Tyler cried. Jenna squeezed his hand, her voice steady despite the breaking dread. "They can't take you from me, Tyler. Nobody can. Remember that." Tyler nodded, his face firming with determination despite the fears swirling around them. Together they faced the shadows, breathing deeply, holding on to the light that had brought them this far. Then, in unison, they shouted, "We choose hope!" Jenna felt the ground beneath them tremble, shadows recoiling from the force of their conviction. Filled with renewed strength, they pressed forward, refusing to look back at the flickers of darkness swirling around them. Gradually, the path widened, and a brilliant light spilled forward. Jenna could feel her heart racing as they surged toward the openness, determination propelling their feet with fierce urgency. Just before the light wrapped around them again, she caught a glimpse of the shadows slinking back, their whispers turning to anguished cries, losing their grip, their promises fading into the distance. In the burst of light, everything around them shimmered and transformed, revealing a safe haven, vibrant and welcoming, free from the lurking fear. The darkness had lost its grip. Jenna collapsed to her knees, a mix of exhaustion and relief washing over her. Tyler joined her, and she pulled him close, reveling in the warmth of their escape. As they embraced, she felt a light flooding back into her soul. "We did it, Tyler. We are free." In the soft embrace of nature around them, the haunting whispers drifted away, fading until silence reclaimed the air. Finally, they were safe. Together at last, Jenna and Tyler emerged from the shadow of that darkness, taking their first step toward a brand new tomorrow. But she would never forget what they faced. She glanced back at the clearing from where they had come, a hope ignited in her heart. With a firm grip around her son, she breathed deep and whispered, "We will always fight for the light." And maybe, just maybe, the shadows had been vanquished for good, and with this chapter closing, remember to keep your lights burning bright. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this epic conclusion. And most importantly, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to support the channel, and this is the moment to show it. Don't wait even one more second to share.